That's in a Big Country there from Big Country. Interested to get your views on having seen that now. How long is it since you've looked at that, guys?
6 years. I've looked at it within the past 6 years, but I think it's 6 years since we actually filmed it, and it's very amusing seeing it. I look about 12 in it.
Well, Mark, your hair was a little bit shorter in those days.
It was,
anyhow.
yeah. I just never had it cut since.
Anyway, it's quite a comprehensive tour that you're doing in the country. I mean, you've been to Galway, Cork and Tralee so far, and it's Dublin tomorrow at the National Stadium. I suppose you could have easily just come in and done a couple of dates at the National Stadium here in Dublin and gone back home quite happy. So was it a deliberate decision to get out there and see the rest of the country?
Yeah, very much so. Any time that we've come through Ireland, we've always wanted to try and do as many gigs here as we possibly can. Plus, it's a place where we have a lot of fun, and we've always been made very welcome here, always been made to feel very comfortable here, and it's a very beautiful place to come. You know, the people are absolutely amazing. So we love to go out there and get to see a bit of the country and meet people and play in as many places as we can, really.
You're to be commended for doing it, Mark, by the way, because so many bands come over here and they play Dublin and they head back home, and it makes it so difficult for people who live outside the area to get here. So I'm sure you've gained a lot of fans as a result of that. What about fun on the road? You seem like a fun couple of guys anyway in here, certainly while we were watching that video.
We just had, what was it, 2 hours drive of hell?
Yeah, we just had a severely rushed drive here this morning from Galway, so yeah, I think that it's good to be able to be serious about your work, but I think you can do it without being full-faced. You know, it is a very enjoyable way to make a living through sharing songs with people and sharing ideas with people, and I think that it's something which we've always thought of ourselves as being very lucky to be able to do that, you know.
Okay.
And so it's we certainly don't take ourselves too seriously, that's for sure.
How long have you been in playing in bands now, Stuart? How many years?
15 years.
15 years. And does that take in the Skids as well?
It does, yes. I've been the first live shows I did were when I was 15 years old with a band called Tattoo, and then I started the Skids a couple of years after that. So it's been, I think, 12 years professionally.
What happened to the Skids? I mean, they seem to be on the crest of quite a big wave, and then suddenly they were no more.
Yeah, well, I think I had to have some very happy memories of the Skids. You know, I think we did some really great material and had some really great times together. But towards the end, everybody just started pulling in different directions. Richard was becoming interested in different things. To myself, I was always wanted to be a musician, really, and Richard was getting really into acting and poetry and stuff, and so I thought it was time just to move on and do something else that I felt that everyone in the band would be committed to.
And where did you come along, Mark? Were you in on the early days?
Since Big Country started, me and Tony had joined Bruce and Stuart, and me and Tony came from a band called On The Air, where we were in a band together for most of our earlier career. As a three-piece.
Was it always rock and roll?
Yeah, and we supported the Skids on tour, and then we went our own way. We split our band up, and Stuart went his way, and then we came together via us doing session work and getting a phone call again.
And the rest is history, as they say. You mentioned Richard Jobson there. I saw him interviewed recently, and he was extremely reluctant to talk about his association with Big Country and with the guys in the band. Was it an amicable split, or what?
Well, things between Richard and myself were always a bit fractious, you know. I think in many ways we're very similar characters, you know. We have a very clear view of what it is that we want to do. But I think that there were things said at the time which really are over and done with now, and I still see Richard quite regularly, and we get on famously together. We get on much better now than we did when we were working together, you know, which is a good thing. But he's interested in very different things to what I am, you know, and that's the way that things are, you know.
I believe he's one of the top models in Europe these days. Is that true?
I don't know.
I find that hard to believe, as a matter of fact, when I think about it.
He claims to be, but Richard's is a great storyteller, I have to say. Since I've met him, 12 years ago, he's had about 8 different life stories in that space of time, you know. So I take things that he says with a very big pinch of salt, but that's part of what he does for a living, yes.
You must have good memories of playing here, Mark, with David Bowie at Slane. Was that a good gig for you?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, anywhere we play, if it's outside or indoors, is fantastic. It was good to play outdoors at that point.
You're playing fairly small venues on this tour. Is that a good thing? Yeah, from the band's point of view, do you prefer that?
Well, I don't prefer it, but it's good actually to be quite close to the audience again, because when we were doing the really big places, and we do lose a little bit of contact, but it's you know. It
makes it a lot easier as far as sound and things like that are concerned as well.
I think to be quite honest, at this point we really have to play small venues anyway. We've had a fair bit of business hassle over the past few years, which has meant we haven't been able to play as often as we would like, you know. So it's nice that when you actually get back to start touring again, to start off in small places and build it up, you know, rather than just think, oh, well, we'll book a tour in all the biggest venues that we can possibly get to, you know. And it's nice to have that intimacy there, definitely.
Okay, I want to talk about the new LP, Peace in Our Time, in just a few moments, but first we'll have a look at the beer commercial. Here's Big Country with One Great Thing.
You know, well, it's not the commercial, it's the video. You've seen that.
One Great Thing from Big Country, our beatbox guest today. You're laughing during that as well, fellas. What's so funny about that? Is it a while since you've seen that one?
Yeah, it is. It's funny because that's the song which we supplied to a certain company for a beer commercial in Scotland, you know.
I want to talk about that, as a matter of fact. Huey Lewis was in this studio not so long ago, and he wasn't exactly giving out about people who get involved in deals like that, but he was sort of saying that he would certainly never do it for all the right reasons. So how come you guys got involved in it?
Well, I think that the reason that we got involved in it was quite basically that we needed the money. We were skinned.
Well,
it was right in the middle of all our business troubles. We're going to get some dosh, you know.
Yeah.
Because not only do we have to be responsible for ourselves, but there's other people who rely on us for their living as well, you know. So it's kind of. But I have to say that I think that things like that shouldn't be overemphasised. I think in certain ways it is a bad thing that it's simply beer companies which are becoming involved in the promotion of music. I think that but what you have to is actually realise that the people out there who actually listen to bands and who are into music do have brains and intelligences of their own, you know, and I think you should, it's a shame, but a lot of musicians seem to credit people who are interested in them as having absolutely no intelligence at all. I would like to think that young people do have an awareness of their own, and that there is enough education around for people to be well aware of the problems that can be inherent in the abuse of alcohol and the abuse of any substance at all, you know. And I think it's about time that we started relying on building people up as individuals in their own right, and granting them a degree of intelligence and a degree of trust, and giving them knowledge, rather than just saying simply this is a bad thing or this is a bad thing. Let people know why it's bad and what the ins and outs of it are, rather than simply saying, oh, this is not happening.
Well said, Stuart. I must say that was all right. We'll move away from sponsorship in that case. By the way, that video won a few awards as well, didn't it?
It did, yes. It was our most successful video as videos go.
Right.
Bruce actually had a lot to do with the ideas behind that.
Guy called Storm Thorgerson.
Do you get involved directly with the making of the videos, or do you let whoever is directing and producing just go ahead and do their own
Sometimes
thing?
it depends. You know, I tend to be. I'm not greatly enamoured of videos, I have to say. I find it very difficult to transfer something which I feel is a very a mental thing, you know, the pictures that I try and create in songs and lyrics. To tie that to one set of visuals, I'm not very comfortable with that. You know, I think it gives people too much one fixed idea of a song, but I maybe want to show 3 or 4 different sides of something.
Okay. I want to talk about the new LP, Peace in Our Time. The album, as the title suggests, has a little bit of a message there in it, a warning about the nuclear arms race, if you like. Who is supposed to be listening to these songs, Stuart, or have people given up listening to political songs and songs about nuclear war and things like that?
I don't know. The way that I like to write songs is I like to put real-life situations and real-life characters in there, you know, so that at least I feel that the music that I'm involved in and committed to is a living, breathing part of the environment that it comes out of, that it is a part of society rather than something that exists in a void for its own gratification, you know. And I think that people are interested in music being something other than 3 minutes worth of just dance music, you know. I think that people like to have questions raised and points debated. I'm certainly not a political writer from a point of view of having one set dogma or theory that I'd like to say to people, well, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. What I much prefer to do is present situations that people find themselves in and tell a story about it. And that's the way that I do things. So I think people are always interested in storytelling and interested in music as a form of communication as well as something to bop around.
So you're not necessarily trying to ram a message down anybody's throat or anything?
No, not
like
at all. I mean, even with the Peace in Our Time thing, people may well interpret it simply as a plea for worldwide sanity, and I'm quite happy with that. But for me personally, there's other interpretations of it. You know, it could be Peace in Our Time with a question mark after it, which puts an ironical slant in it, or some individual's own quest for their peace in their own time, which makes it intimate and personal.